Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Grogan. This lesson is on the draw loop. It is lesson 11 on code.org. I know that when we did the street scene project over last week, it was on lesson 13. And I had said at the time that we would, after completing the street scene project, we were going to go back a little bit to lesson 11 on code.org. Note that we are going to be skipping lesson 10. And Mainly because at this point, after doing the street scene project, going into lesson 11 kind of represents a different starting off point with JavaScript. What we're going to be focusing on from starting with this lesson and pretty much almost every lesson going forward is having your characters move around on the screen. All right. So up to this point, the first several lessons that we've worked on in JavaScript have dealt with putting things on the screen, backgrounds, shapes, sprites. Okay. Going forward, what we're going to be doing is having those characters or sprites that we've created move around on the screen. And there's many different ways in which we can do that. All right. And this is starting off point is going to be going into what's called the function draw code, which I'll get into in a moment. All right. But really what this is, what the draw loop represents is the start of actually having our characters move around on the screen. Okay. It's like an animation. All right. And an animation, really what it is, it's a series of images that create the illusion of motion by being shown rapidly one after the other. Whenever you watch a cartoon, obviously it's an animation. All right. Think of it as like a flip book. When you have when you create a character and when you constantly draw that character, but have it move slightly from one page to the other, and then you flip it really fast. Okay. Each of those pictures that you draw on each page, that would represent a frame. Frame is a single image within an animation. Okay. And an animation is when those pages or frames are flipped rapidly. Okay. Computers work the same way. All right. And the new code that gets introduced, as I said, the function draw, that's the most important one. There is another one called the world frame rate that gets introduced. And the world frame rate is the number of times per second the screen is refreshed. All right. You won't be using this code as much as the function draw code, but it is important to note what the world frame rate code does. Okay. The default rate of 30 frames per second, and values are limited between 1 and 60. So it's, you can, with the world frame rate, you can adjust how rapidly your character moves. Okay. The faster, the more frames per second, that means the faster it moves. The less number of frames per second, the slower it moves. All right. And as I said, the function draw, I'm going to be going into that throughout this particular lesson. All right. It is a code that gets used very often going forward. And this lesson primarily deals with how the function draw code works. The assignment itself is section 6 through 9. All right. I'm going to go through the first couple of sections here before I have you get started on the assignment. Section 2 is a video that you should definitely take a look at because it does describe it in the draw loop in a little bit of detail. All right. Section 3. All right. Actually, no, section 3, I'm going to skip that one. Okay. Section 4. As I said, this one gives you a good idea of how the draw loop works. All right. Now, when I run the code, okay, you'll notice that the program becomes populated with green ellipses. Okay. Now, when I look over here on the right-hand side of the directions, it's a combination of green ellipses and orange ellipses. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the workspace and see how it's coded. Okay. All right. Notice that there's no sprites here. Okay. There's no variables that have been created here. Okay. Most of the workspace here represents the function draw code. Okay. Notice that the function draw code has a looks like the letter C here, but it has. Notice that there's 2 lines of code that are inside the function draw code. And what it does, all right, is that when you run the program, the function draw code works as a repeater. Okay, it repeats itself. Okay, and you have the fill color green and then the ellipse, and within that ellipse, all right, the X and Y coordinates have random number codes. Okay, and they go from 0 to 400. Hence why when I run this program, these little circles populate the screen, and they do it fairly rapidly. Okay, because the reason why it's doing that is because this fill color and an ellipse, it's on repeat. And the code that's set on the ellipse, the X and Y coordinates that are set on the ellipse, are both random number codes. They go from 0 to 400. So that's why basically what it's saying is that this, when I run the program, okay, the orange circles, I mean the green circles here, could just populate the screen. And notice how they do it fairly quickly. All right. So what I'm going to do right here is I am going to add code in here to make it not only fill up with green ellipses, but also orange ellipses. All right. And to do that, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the toolbox draw, and I'm going to put a fill color right underneath this ellipse, and I am going to make it orange. Okay. Then I'm going to put an ellipse code right here. All right. All right. And okay, notice how that there's 4 numbers that's listed here. Okay, if I go right here, you'll see at the end here that there's a little arrow that points leftward. If I click on this arrow at the end of the code, if I click it twice, it just shows the X and Y coordinate. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Toolbox Math and put a random number code here and a random number code here. Okay. And I'll make this 0 to 400. And I'll make this 0 to 400. All right. And then when I reset and run the program, voila. All right. And that's how the function draw essentially works. Okay. Anything inside the function draw code will repeat. Okay. And it will keep repeating. All right. So that's essentially how that works. All right. So the assignment itself is sections 6 through 9. All right. Just to quickly go over it with you. This is a fairly easy assignment. It shouldn't take you too long to do. All right. But section 6. Okay. All right. Basically, what you want to do on section 6 is you'll notice here that there's a little alien character here dancing. Okay. And then if you look at the workspace, you'll see that there's the alien is the variable here, okay? But really, you want to focus on the function draw, okay? Notice also, because that there's a sprite that's added here, on the bottom of it, the bottom line on the function draw, it has draw sprites. So that's why the alien character is dancing, okay? And notice that it has a sprite rotation code with -10 to 10, okay? The reason why that alien character is dancing is because it's under a sprite rotation code, and it's set from -10 to 10. So that's why it's moving, dancing around like that. All right. Basically, what you want to do is just change the numbers in the random number block and run the program again. That's all you really need to do there. Section 7. All right. Section 7. All right. What you're going to be doing here is that you'll have a brush and a pencil. The pencil is moving, but the brush is not. All right. So what you want to do is look at the program, see how it works, and see how the pencil's working. And then what you're going to do is you're going to enter in code to make the brush move like in the same pattern that the pencil is. All right. Take a look at the workspace. You'll be able to figure it out fairly easily. Section 8, all right, is a practice. You only need to do 1 out of the 4 here. All right. This one here, the updating the rotation, okay? On this one, you have the alien on the left is dancing, but the alien on the right is not. You have to add in code to make the alien on the right dance, essentially, okay? And as for the others, okay, sections B and D are fairly similar to each other, all right, in that what you have to do here, if you choose the Blender ones, they're basically debugging code, all right, and this one in particular, you'll notice that the Blender it's moving, but it looks like part of it's in place. It's blurry, okay, and what you want to do is try to find the bug in the program and change it so that this here looks like this. Okay, so that way, you know, if you look on the right hand side in the directions, the Blender is shaking, but it's not blurry in any way. It's just kind of, it's moving together. All right, and section D, when you run the program on section D here on section 8, all right, when we run the program, the Blender's not moving at all. But basically what you have to do is enter in code to make it move, right? And if you choose to do section C, all right, what's happening here, and what you would, if you choose to do this one, what's happening here is that this bubbly sprite, okay, it's not moving at all, okay? And basically what you have to do is you have to try to find the bug and fix it, okay? And it's a multi-frame animation that gives you a hint on how to do that if you choose to do it, okay? So on section 8, you only need to do 1 out of the 4, all right? Section 9, all right, on lesson 11 here, okay, is a salt shaker, okay? Right now, when I run the program, the salt shaker is not moving at all, right? But basically what you have to do is you have to add in a draw loop and put in code to make the salt actually shake, all right? And, you know, it may take a minute or two to figure that one out, but once you do, it's a fairly easy fix, all right? And as I said, once you're done with section 9, you're done with the assignment, all right? It is a fairly easy lesson to do, but really after this lesson, they do start to get more difficult. And some of the lessons that we're going to be doing going forward will actually be me actually showing you how to do certain sections, because it does get difficult further along that we go on with these lessons. Right? But if you have any questions on it, please let me know. Thank you very much.